It was supposed to be my special day, my 35th birthday. The kind of day when your loved ones remind you how much you mean to them. But when I woke up that morning, the bed beside me was cold. The faint sound of silence filled the house. No giggling kids, no coffee brewing, not even a creak of footsteps. Just emptiness. I stumbled into the kitchen, half expecting balloons or maybe a surprise cake. Instead, there it was. A small envelope sitting neatly on the table with my name written in my husband's bold handwriting. Don't be mad, it's a surprise. My heart sank. Inside was a single photo. My husband, Daniel, and our 2 kids smiling at the airport. The message below read, "We're going to Dubai for a few days. Family bonding time. You deserve a break, honey." A break? On my birthday? Without me? I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was the kind of thing that only made sense in Daniel's head. He always loved being the center of attention. When I wanted simple, he wanted grand. When I asked for time together, he gave me things instead. And now apparently he'd given me the gift of being alone. At first I tried to convince myself it was harmless. Maybe he'd planned something bigger. Maybe this was just part of a surprise. But as hours passed and no call came, my hopes started to fade. By evening, I sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the rain slide down the glass, thinking of all the birthdays I'd spent making everyone else feel special. I thought about the years I worked double shifts to help Daniel start his business, the nights I stayed up when the kids were sick while he traveled for work, and now here I was, the one day meant for me, alone, left behind. The phone finally buzzed. It was a photo message, Daniel and the kids smiling under the blazing Dubai sun, captioned, "Wish you were here." That hurt more than I expected. But here's the thing, when you've been silent too long, something inside you eventually wakes up. That night, as I looked at the empty house and the note on the table, something changed in me. I realized I'd been living as a side character in my own life story. The next morning, I made a decision, one that would change everything. I logged into our family account, something Daniel had forgotten I managed, and checked the business finances. What I found there made my blood run cold. He had used company money for the trip, my company's money. Because what Daniel had always conveniently forgotten was that the business, the one he bragged about building from scratch, was legally under my name. I'd been the silent investor, the one who handled every document, every license, every approval. And now, as I stared at the transactions, a strange calm washed over me. He'd taken my kids, my birthday, and my money, all in one move. But he had no idea who he was dealing with. I smiled to myself as I closed the laptop and whispered, "Happy birthday to me," because this time, the surprise wasn't his to give. It was mine to return. They thought they were living the dream in Dubai, until everything started falling apart, one mistake at a time. Stay till the end because you won't believe how fast karma caught up. And before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live. Stories that remind us what goes around truly comes around. The Dubai sun shimmered across the glass towers as Daniel walked through the hotel lobby, with a grin that screamed satisfaction. He had always dreamed of this, luxury, admiration, and the illusion of success. The kids were running ahead laughing, clutching the little camel toys he had just bought them. From the outside, they looked like the perfect family on vacation. But perfection is often just a photo filter away. Behind the smiles, Daniel was hiding a knot of guilt. He knew he had used company funds to pay for this trip, and while he tried to convince himself it was harmless, a part of him whispered otherwise. He kept brushing it off, muttering under his breath, "She'll never find out." Meanwhile, back home, I wasn't just sitting idle. I was watching. Quietly, strategically. The company accounts, the corporate emails, all of it was connected to my system. Every swipe of his credit card, every hotel receipt, every luxury purchase pinged straight to my phone. And with each alert, my resolve grew stronger. By day 3, Daniel's perfect trip started to crack. The kids were cranky. They missed home, their friends, their routine. He had booked an expensive desert safari, hoping to impress them. But halfway through the trip, a sandstorm hit, forcing them to cut it short. His son got sick that night, dehydration. He panicked, rushing to the hotel clinic, realizing for the first time how unprepared he was without me. Then came the phone call that broke his confidence completely. It was from our company's finance manager. "Mr. Collins, Daniel," he said, voice tight, "we have an issue. Several transactions from the business account are flagged. The compliance team is investigating. We need to explain this immediately." Daniel froze. "It's fine, I'll handle it," he lied. But inside he knew exactly who had the power to handle it. Me. Back home I didn't answer his first call. Or his second. By the fifth I simply texted, "Enjoy your vacation. I'll handle things here." The silence on his end was golden. For years, Daniel had made me feel small, the quiet wife, the mother, the helper behind his success. He loved to tell people, "My wife helps with the company paperwork." No, Daniel. I was the company paperwork. By the fourth day, his paradise had turned into a series of headaches. The resort blocked his card due to a fraud alert. His meetings with potential Dubai investors, which he'd secretly arranged to impress me later, were canceled when they discovered he was under internal financial review. The look on his face when the hotel manager told him, "Sir, your card isn't going through," must have been priceless. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed again. Another email confirming that all company spending under his name had been temporarily frozen. I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee, imagining his frustration under that scorching Dubai sun. But even as I smiled, a part of me ached for the kids. None of this was their fault. They were innocent, just caught in the storm their father had created. That night I got a video call. It was my daughter, Lily. Her tiny voice cracked as she said, "Mommy, Daddy's mad. He's shouting at people. I want to come home." I swallowed hard, keeping my tone calm. "It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy's fixing everything. You'll be home soon, I promise." After the call, I stared at my reflection on the laptop screen. The woman looking back wasn't the same person who'd woken up alone on her birthday. She was stronger now, sharper, wiser, ready to take back control of her life. The next morning, I sent Daniel an email. Simple, direct, and polite. Subject, business inquiry. Message. Daniel, I've initiated a full financial review. Please return home immediately for an urgent board meeting. Flights have been booked for tomorrow. CO, Monsieur Turner. It was the first time I'd signed my name with my true title, CO. And something told me that signature alone was enough to make him realize just how badly he'd messed up. When he landed back home, he thought he could talk his way out of everything. But he walked straight into a truth he never saw coming. Stick till the end, because this is where the story takes a turn no husband could ever prepare for. And before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live. Stories that hit your heart and remind you of life's deepest lessons. The automatic airport doors slid open, and Daniel stepped out, dragging his suitcase with a tired sigh. His face was pale, a mix of exhaustion, guilt, and fear. The kids trailed behind him, sleepy and quiet, their once excited chatter replaced by uneasy silence. He scanned the terminal, expecting to see me waiting, maybe angry, but still the forgiving wife he always counted on. But I wasn't there. Instead, his phone buzzed. A message popped up. "Car waiting outside. Board meeting in 2 hours. Don't be late. M." For the first time, he noticed the subtle shift. Not love, Mia, or honey. Just M. The ride home was long and silent. The kids were taken to my mother's house, where I'd already arranged for them to stay the night. Daniel didn't argue. He knew this wasn't a discussion anymore. When he finally arrived at the office, he paused at the glass doors. The company logo, MT Holdings, gleamed in gold letters. He had always claimed it stood for Mark and Turner, his supposed initials and mine. But in reality, it had always stood for Mia Turner. He just never noticed. Inside, the air was thick. The board members were already seated, including Mr. Collins, the finance manager. Everyone avoided eye contact as Daniel entered. He forced a smile. "All right, let's get this over with." And then the door opened. I walked in, calm, confident, dressed in a navy suit Daniel had never seen me wear before. His face went pale. "Mia?" he stammered. "What's going on?" I didn't answer immediately. I walked to the head of the table, my chair, and set down a folder. "Let's begin." Mr. Collins cleared his throat. Mr. Turner, we've completed the financial review. There's clear evidence that company funds were used for personal expenses, a family vacation, luxury shopping, and private entertainment. Do you deny this? Daniel's jaw tightened. It was a business trip. Potential clients. Enough, I interrupted, my voice steady but firm. The receipts are under your name. There were no meetings, no contracts. You used company money to impress people who never existed. You took my children and my funds on my birthday and left me behind. The room went silent. He blinked. Your funds? He repeated, confused. Yes, Daniel. My company. I slid the official ownership papers across the table, documents he'd signed years ago, trusting me to handle the paperwork while he chased glory. His eyes scanned the page, widening with every line. Mia Turner, sole proprietor and CEO. He read aloud. His voice broke. This can't be right. Oh, but it is. I leaned forward, looking him dead in the eye. You've spent years treating me like I was just the help, like I didn't understand business. But everything you built, every dollar you spent, every deal you bragged about, it was all under my name. He sank back in his chair, speechless. Mr. Collins looked at me, waiting for instruction. Madam, should we proceed with disciplinary action? I took a deep breath. Suspend him from all executive duties until further notice. Freeze all accounts linked to him personally. Daniel stood, slamming his hand on the table. Mia, you can't do this to me. I'm your husband. I met his rage with calm. You should have remembered that before you betrayed me. He stared at me, broken, realizing for the first time that the woman he underestimated had been the one holding the power all along. As he stormed out of the room, I didn't stop him. I just watched quietly, feeling something inside me finally settle. Not revenge, and not exactly, just peace. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's silent, controlled, elegant. That night I went home alone, sat by the same kitchen table where the note once lay, and smiled softly. The difference this time? I was no longer the woman left behind. I was the woman moving forward. He thought losing his job was the worst thing that could happen, until karma showed him what true loss really feels like. Stay till the end, because this part of the story will make your heart ache. And maybe, just maybe, heal it too. And before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live. Real stories that remind us how life always finds its balance. After that boardroom confrontation, Daniel's life began to unravel faster than he could grasp. The man who once walked with pride now struggled just to hold his head high. Overnight, news spread through the industry. Daniel Turner suspended for misconduct. Investors whispered, colleagues avoided him, and old friends who once laughed at his jokes suddenly stopped answering his calls. He tried to fight back, of course. He called me dozens of times, sending long messages filled with apologies and excuses. Mia, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I only wanted to surprise you. You've made your point. Just end this now. But I didn't reply. I wasn't cruel. I was just done. Meanwhile, he was forced to move into a small apartment on the edge of the city after the accounts were frozen. The luxury car, the club memberships, the credit cards, all gone. The silence of that new life must have echoed in his head like a haunting reminder of everything he'd lost. Yet the part that truly broke him wasn't the money. It was the kids. Our children, Lily and Ben, refused to talk to him after witnessing his anger and breakdown in Dubai. They were scared, confused. For weeks they'd ask me, Mommy, why did Daddy yell so much? Why didn't he bring you too? How could I explain betrayal to children who still believed in fairy tales? One evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at me with tearful eyes and whispered, Mommy, will Daddy ever come home again? That night I cried, down not for Daniel, but for the family we used to be. Because no matter how strong I looked on the outside, a part of me still mourned what we had lost. Meanwhile, Daniel hit rock bottom. With no job, no savings, and no home, he started working at a friend's logistics company. A fraction of what he used to earn. Gone were the suits, the fancy watches, the air of arrogance. He spent his days loading boxes, replaying the same memory over and over, my voice in that boardroom calm and firm saying, You should have remembered that before you betrayed me. And then came the day that changed everything. It was raining, much like the morning I'd woken up alone on my birthday. I was walking out of the office when I saw a familiar figure standing near the gate, soaked and shivering. Daniel. His eyes were red, his clothes drenched, his pride nowhere to be found. He approached slowly, hands trembling. "Mia," he said softly, "I know you don't owe me anything, but please, just let me say I'm sorry." For a long moment I said nothing. Then I nodded, letting him speak. I thought money and status made me a man. I thought taking the kids to Dubai would prove I was doing something great. But when everything fell apart, I realized something. The only thing I ever truly needed was right here. You. His voice cracked, and for the first time in years he looked small, human, regretful. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said, "but I had to tell you. I finally understand what you were worth." The rain poured harder, blurring the world around us. I took a deep breath and said quietly, "I didn't want revenge, Daniel. I just wanted you to respect me, to see me. But you had to lose everything to finally look my way." He nodded slowly, tears mixing with rain. "I know." I turned to leave, pausing only once. "Maybe one day when the kids are ready, they'll see you again. But right now, we all need time." And with that, I walked away, and not out of bitterness, but out of closure. As I got into my car, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw him standing there, still watching me, alone. And for the first time, I realized something important. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means freeing yourself from someone else's shadow. Months passed since that rainy day when Daniel came to me, broken and remorseful. Life began to settle into a calm rhythm again. The company flourished under new management, and for the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Every morning, I'd wake up, make breakfast for Lily and Ben, and drive them to school myself. The simple things, laughter at the table, sleepy goodbyes, messy hair, felt more precious than all the luxury trips and grand gestures Daniel ever gave. One evening, while organizing old files, I came across the photo Daniel had sent me from Dubai, him and the kids smiling under the golden sun. My heart ached, but this time it wasn't pain, it was peace. That version of me, the woman who felt forgotten, had finally found her voice. Still, deep down, I couldn't deny the tiny part of me that remembered the good. The early days before the pride and lies, when we were just two dreamers building a life together. That memory reminded me that people are capable of change, if they truly want to. And then one Saturday morning, a letter arrived at my office. No fancy envelope, no grand signature, just a simple white envelope with one word written across it. "Thank you." Inside was a handwritten note from Daniel. "Mia, it's been 6 months. I've started working at a small startup, and for the first time in years I'm actually learning, not just leading. I'm saving up to rebuild my life slowly and honestly. I don't expect anything from you, but I wanted you to know that losing everything made me realize what truly matters. Tell the kids I love them. And thank you for letting me fall, because without that I never would have stood up again. Daniel." I held the letter for a long time, letting every word sink in. There were no tears this time, just gratitude that both of us in our own ways were finally healing. A few weeks later we met, at a quiet park where the kids played under the summer sun. Daniel looked healthier, humbler, calmer. When Lily saw him, she froze for a second, then ran into his arms. Ben followed, laughing. I watched from a distance, smiling softly. When he looked up and our eyes met, there was no bitterness left, only understanding. We didn't need to speak. The silence between us was full of acceptance. As the kids played, he walked over slowly. "You look happy," he said gently. "I am," I replied. "I think we all are now." He nodded. "You deserved so much more than I ever gave you." I smiled faintly. "Maybe, but sometimes you have to lose something precious to remember its value." We stood there quietly, watching our children chase each other across the grass, laughter filling the air, light and pure. And in that moment, I realized something beautiful. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what someone did. It's about freeing your heart so you can love life again. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I looked out the window at the city lights and whispered to myself, This is my new beginning. Not the life I planned, but the life I earned. A life built on self-respect, independence, and peace. And as I closed my laptop in the same one where I'd once found the proof of betrayal, I smiled. Because now it wasn't a tool of pain. It was a symbol of power. The past had ended. The future was mine.